I'm outside my bathroom here, and I've got a situation that I've got to fix, and I thought I would show how I'm going to go about doing that. The problem that I have in this area well, I've got a couple of problems actually. First of all, the floor in the bathroom is going to be ceramic tile, and I haven't done it yet, but I need to leave space. I need to leave thickness. Now this plywood floor here is only a ½ inch thick, and that means that I had to ramp up to meet that floor inside there when it goes in there, just a little bit. It actually went up about a ½ inch, but what happened, I sloped the boards up here and I put support in, but I didn't put enough in, and I've got a problem with these 3 boards right here. They deflect down a little bit. So the best option would have been to do it correctly in the first place, get the support in there. Actually, normally I would have pumped it so full of glue that would have taken away the problem, but I was running out of glue. I wanted to get this done. The best way to fix it would be to tear all this up, tear it back over to here, redo this down there, add lots of glue, add lots of shims, lots of support, and that would fix it entirely. The only problem is these boards are solidly glued down to the floor now, so I would totally destroy them, and then I would have to spend probably 15-20 minutes cleaning up what's left of the glue. So I've got another solution that I'm going to try. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the center board here, this one right here, and this is the hollow part, and I'm going to take my utility knife and I'm going to cut a piece of the veneer on the surface away so that I can drill a hole underneath that to pump in some silicone. Now I'm going to make a very, very, very aggressive cut in here with my knife, because what I want to do is I want to crack out a piece that I can glue right back in. And then I'm just going to break it up sideways like this, and hopefully it breaks cleanly. Okay, well that didn't come out as cleanly as I wanted it to, but I think it'll still be okay. I've got the 3 major pieces there, and I can get them put back in. I've got my drill here, and there's a, I don't know if there's a 3/16 inch drill bit, and I'm going to center it over that cut that I made, and I'm just going to drill through the plywood. I'm using silicone because it's thin enough to squeeze in there and flow out. Also, when it dries, it doesn't shrink up that much, and when it does dry, it's fairly hard and rubbery. It should easily prevent these boards here from deflecting once it goes in and dries. It's going to take a couple of days to do that though, because it's closed off. It's going to take the nozzle and shove it in that hole as tightly as I can, and then start pumping it in. Now I'm taking this relatively slowly. If I try to do it too quickly, it'll pump out the back of the tube and all over my gun, so I don't want that. So I'm going to try to pump in as much as I possibly can. I certainly don't want to see it oozing out of the surface, but I want to make sure that I get enough in there to do the job in this one go. I don't want to make any more holes here. So I've got all the tube in here at this point, so it should be well supported. Okay, a little bit is coming back up. I'm going to push down on the boards a little bit. It's going to guide that so it doesn't fall down. Like I say, I've got to stay off it until that sets up. I got a couple other things I want to talk about in the rest of this video. First of all is the plywood floor that I did in the last video. And I've had a few comments on that. A lot of people have asked, well, why didn't you pre-finish the strips before laying them down? Well, one big problem with that is the holes from me driving the nails in. I would have to mix up a filler that would blend in with the stain color then as well. And that's a little bit more difficult to do as it is when I fill these holes now and then stain over top after sanding it, that is. The nails absolutely disappear. You really have to look closely to see them. So that's one thing. The other thing is I don't have the place or the space to do all this. I've got a fairly big basement, but right now it's full of junk. that, you know, I need and I can't move out of the way to make enough space to do this. It would be better if I waited until the spring to do this, but I really got to get on top of this. I got to get this done. So I figured best thing to do, lay it and then deal with the situation. Because to be honest, in the first room I didn't expect that, because if you read the website article, you know that I did this before and it turned out a lot better because the stuff that I used was drying a lot slower than this stuff that I'm using here now is. It looks like the same product, but they changed the solvent. It dries a lot faster. Then add to that the floor is actually heated, and that makes the dry time even faster. That's the only issue I have with the floor, is the overlap from not being able to maintain a wet edge. I didn't really have any blotchiness to speak of. This plywood takes that color very evenly. There is some natural grain in the wood, as you can see, but that really doesn't show through once it's stained. I had a couple other comments, and I'm actually surprised that I didn't get more, about preconditioning the wood with a preconditioned, you know, stain thing. I tried all that stuff before on the original color choice that I went with here. That's the reason why I went with this particular combination, because it worked so well for me before. And also I put so much time into finding it in the first place. I really like the color, and it's what I wanted to use here. So it doesn't use any pre-conditioner because the wood really doesn't need it. Like I said, it takes stain and it takes that polyshade stuff that's thinned down, that is, with the pure urethane, really well. It doesn't blotch up. The only problem that I had was maintaining that wet edge. Now, I did the hallway out here after that room. That first room, you could kind of call that a break-in period. So I picked that room specifically because, first of all, I want to get it done now, the first, but I also wanted to make sure that everything was working out good. If anything went wrong, I wanted it to go wrong in that room and not out in the hall where it would be more visible. So I did the hall. I painted 2 strips at a time, but I cut in each one neatly so that there wasn't any overlap, and it turned out a lot better. I had a comment just today actually about using the water-based polyurethane. Am I concerned about it washing off? No, that stuff doesn't wash off. After it sets up almost like plastic. Like I said, I found that it's, for floors, it's quite a bit tougher than the oil-based stuff. It's not that it's like it's slipperier. The floor is a lot slipperier when you put that on there. That's kind of a downside, but that slipperiness actually helps it to avoid friction marks or scratches or stuff like that. So it winds up being tougher, winds up being more durable, in my opinion, or my experience actually from using it. So while I'm here, I may as well mention a couple other things about the floor. And I included these in the article, or some of them anyway. But I know that a lot of people do not go and read the extra information that I've worked hard on putting in the articles that they really should, because it gives you the whole story. It doesn't give you the little bits and pieces that I have to try to cram into a relatively short video. I don't want to make videos that are, 50, 60, 70 minutes long to include everything, because people won't watch them. At least I know I wouldn't. I wouldn't want to watch a video on doing a plywood floor that's, feature film length. So I try to put this stuff in the build article. The plywood itself is 1/2 inch. Originally, I was thinking I would use 3/4 inch, but this floor at this point is super thick. It has the original board that was in the house, that's 7/8 of an inch thick. And then on top of that, I put 7/16 inch, which is almost a 1/2 inch, OSB everywhere on the floor. And then on top of that, I laid the pipe. Originally, I was going to put the in-floor heating underneath the floor, But then thinking about it, I decided that it would be more consistent, more even, and a lot easier to put it right on top of the floor in a grid and then infill with 5/8 inch OSB. It's 2 inches there, you could say. And then the extra half inches, that's 2.5 inches of floor. So that's quite thick and quite solid as it is. The other thing about this is how I fastened it to the floor. I used polyurethane construction adhesive to do that. You really should use a really good strong glue like that. Don't use something like regular construction adhesive. I don't think it'll hold as well. Or something like liquid nails. Liquid nails is not anywhere near as strong as polyurethane construction adhesive. My original time doing this, I used regular wood glue. Regular wood glue would be great if what it's gluing it down to didn't have any gaps, or was a nice tight fit, but it will not work well here. So I really recommend going with the thicker polyurethane construction adhesive, and it'll give better results. The brads I used to hold it down to the floor until the glue set were 18 gauge, 1¼ inches long. That's plenty long enough to hold down 1/2 inch plywood without a problem. The nails are really only there to clamp the wood down to the floor until the glue sets, because it's ultimately the glue that's going to be holding down these strips. I've got one other thing to talk about before I go. I got a couple comments, actually one comment in the video, the plywood floor video, and another one asking me on my website forum. I'm not sure if it's the same person. How this worked out here with the improving the windows, by triple painting them. The ones on the bottom here, the ones that I added on the inside, and then I added silica gel to the inside of the thing to absorb any moisture that was in there or trapped in there when I put it together. They worked fantastically. None of these have steamed up or even come close to steaming up, even though we've hit some really brutal temperatures so far this winter. On the other hand, the ones up on top here that I put on the outside are not working as well. You can probably see it here. If you can't, take my word for it. The outside window, the storm window itself, has steamed up on the inside there. It's actually sweating over here, and then this one over here is doing it as well. So kind of a mixed bag with this one. This works beautifully, that didn't. But even though they are steaming up outside there, they are preventing the window from steaming up as much on the inside up here. The other windows in the house are steaming up a lot more up in here than these are. So it is effective, but you have to live with that condensation on the inside.